Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Deadly Class, which is interesting to say series premiere considering the show doesn't actually properly premiere until like January, was it like the 15th or 16th? So, but it's just kind of funny. Either way, a great episode, kind of a nice introduction to the series. Going into this, I knew a little bit, not because I'm familiar with the comic book or the graphic novel, but just because I saw the trailers and stuff like that. So I knew he was going to an assassin school. I didn't know Marcus's whole situation, which was kind of interesting. Like the place he got sent to, like apparently he burned it down and killed 12 people. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. I was like, wow, you were that kind of person right from the start. But it's like, no, it seems like he has his issues, but that killing people wasn't one of them. Because it seems like, well, I'm kind of skipping ahead of it, but that's why the whole Rory situation hits him the way it does later on. Even though he has the issues he does, that was the first time he'd ever killed anyone. Because well, for one, that's a different situation too, because he did that with his bare hands. Not his bare hands, he had a weapon, but still that was up close and personal compared to like burning down that place. So it's like, but what's interesting though, because he ends up talking about it later on, he ends up telling Saya the truth, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting that you only told her. I think that kind of speaks volumes in itself, but obviously he has that reputation. Because at first I was thinking like, because the doll that he found in his locker was, you know, with the knife in it, the note saying like, oh, child killer. I was like, what is that about? Like, because I didn't get it. I was like, everyone that there was his age, wasn't? And then I was like, right, the place he was at wasn't probably just for people his age. It was probably for, you know, all minors. So there were probably kids in there too that got killed and everything. So, and which is like, oh, wow. But that's the thing, like, he didn't do it, so that means someone framed him, because it's like, why would the cops think it was him otherwise? I mean, I guess because I wouldn't assume there's only 12 people that were in there. I'm sure it was a whole bunch of other people, at least I'm assuming. And it's like, he was the only one who escaped, so maybe that pointed them in his direction, but it had to be other things that kind of led to that. But, you know, not only dealing with all of that, living on the streets, the way his parents died sucked too, because I'm like, oh God, like. And now it's interesting because how that all ties into President Reagan, because it's like, oh, Reagan cut funding to a lot of like mental health facilities. So a lot of the people just got released on the streets. And one particular being that woman who was schizophrenic and suicidal. She jumped off the building and landed on his parents. It was interesting. I like how they stylized that. I mean, which is kind of morbid to say that, because that just how that scene was done aesthetically. I'm curious, will they ever do more like shifts like that? Because that was the only part in the episode that looked like that. I guess to get that moment across, it's a lot easier to depict that cartoon-wise than it would be like a live action. So maybe that's why they did it. But it was just kind of interesting in that regard. I hope they kind of do more like, you know, stuff like that. Like the thing I compare it to is like Legion. Legion does a lot of like the TV show, the Marvel TV show. It's Fox. You get what I'm trying to say. But that show does a lot of transitions, and just like it does a lot of aesthetic stuff, not just within, well, just how it aesthetically shows certain things in the show is kind of what I'm trying to get across. And I'm hoping Deadly Class potentially does more of this. We'll see. Like I said, that might just be it. That one section in this one episode that they do that, but still. I should also mention there's a lot of familiar faces in this. Obviously, Master Lin, played by Benedict Wong. Obviously, Wong from Doctor Strange, so the most recent thing. Erica Serra's in this. She plays DeLuca. Erica Serra, Joe from Eureka, Allie / Rebecca from the 100, kind of the things I best know her from. Liam James, I think he played the son in The Killing, the main cop. I'm blanking on her name and it's bothering the crap out of me. Her son. He was also Ben in the live-action Ben 10 movie, and I think he played a young Sean from Psych for like 1 or 2 seasons, maybe more. I don't remember. I think he did it for a little while, but nevertheless. Oh, and also Henry Rollins being the poison teacher was kind of pretty dope. Which I'll admit, don't know too much about Henry Rollins. I know a little bit here and there just because of like the stuff I've seen here and there, like the Hot Ones interview he did a while back. So, like, nevertheless, but still, it's pretty dope. I'm like, hey, Henry Rollins, that's awesome. There was some interesting things about the school, about like it actually having cliques like that. I think is kind of interesting. You have the preps who are from rich families, like who are connected, their families are connected to the CIA, FBI. There are literal Nazis. I knew Brandy was one before they even said anything because she left that note saying you're dead meat and had swastikas. I'm like, wait, there are Nazis at this school? Wait, what? So yeah, they're the Dixie mob. So that was kind of interesting. It's like, what was it, the term that Billy ended up using to describe him? Confederate cousin diddlers. That was interesting. I love him being like, yeah, white power. Yeah, it's just kind of like, So that was interesting. Then there's the Haitians and the Final World Order and their leader being Will, which that really surprised me, that Will situation. Like him being so hardcore and stuff like that, pulling a gun on Marcus like that. And then him acting so tough, and then that whole conversation, because, you know, Marcus is talking shit about, like, comics that are, like, mainstream, and this is blah, 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 talking about, because, like, you know, for him, Will, it's like, nah, X-Men are dope, and, you know, that Dark Phoenix saga, that Dark Phoenix beats all of it, and then, like, you know, Marcus kept talking trash and just like, say that it's the best. And it's like, wow, you were tripping about some comics. But it's also interesting because it's like, he's actually a pacifist, which is crazy considering the fact is for him, it's like his family are kind of like, for him, it's like, I pretend to be an OG. He's actually a pacifist. And it's like, he came to this school because his mom wanted to kind of toughen him up. But it's like, that's definitely an interesting aspect I wasn't expecting either, because it seems like Marcus is going to be like, working with him and to compensate for the fact is that he doesn't kill people or hurt people, but he's at this school. It's kind of crazy. You would end up at a school for assassins and you don't do that type of thing. You don't kill people. You don't want to hurt people. But to be fair, it's like it runs in your family. That doesn't mean you want to be that, you know? I guess he thought, like, you know, he wanted to, you know, make his mom proud and stuff like that. But, you know, I guess it's just not in him. The real interesting thing, too, is, like, the Saya situation. Because, like, obviously, like, the whole, like, getting him to school. Because, like, she's like, oh, like, kissing him and telling him like, no, like, you don't have to be alone anymore. She said all she needed to say to get him to the school. Then there's this stuff later on where she's telling him to run, but it's like, was she telling him to run because it's just kind of like, oh yeah, like if you want to survive Chico, then you need to do this? Or was it just a situation of like, that was still part of her assignment? Because her whole assignment was to make sure that he stayed at the school. Maybe that, because at that point, because it's like, she had said, she even admitted, like, oh, I'm trying to get you to stay at this, I try to get you to this school because by getting you here, if I didn't get you here, Master Lin would have failed me. And so it's like, I guess maybe, because she was like, is her assignment over? So maybe she thought like the moment he came to the school, like whether he left or not, maybe that wouldn't have affected her grade, or maybe it would have after the fact. But the fact that she came to him later on makes me think like, no, it might not be over. I mean, not unless she was referencing some other thing. I mean, because Maria did the whole like black eye situation, but part of me wonders is like, was that not just Maria's decision? Was that Saya who helped like set that whole situation up? Because she was there before Maria left and everything. So part of me, or to be fair, Maria kind of went off and did that kind of on her own. But to be fair, maybe that's also like part of the plan and stuff like that, kind of making it seem like they weren't communicating with each other to do this. But it's like, I have no idea. Because it does seem like she doesn't want to do that. I also completely forgot to talk about the fact is, was it Kuroki Syndicate, the Yakuzas. So that's interesting. That's the group that she's a part of. But I'm wondering how far she's supposed to go, like why Master Lin seems in particular to have taken so much of an interest in Marcus. Has he had his eye on Marcus for a long time since he went through so much trouble to acquire him, even continuing her to down that path? Like, does he see a little bit of himself in Marcus so he sees his potential? I have no idea. It's actually kind of interesting. Like, it's kind of interesting because the school was built on the principle of like trying to train people so that they can rise up against their oppressors. You know, Master Lin ended up talking about his past, about the people he killed. His first kills were like the actual drug like driver, the person who the owner of the truck he was driving, because it's like they didn't check the brakes, and the judge who said it was like, oh, it was an accident, kind of saying like it was God's, you know, accident. Like it was something that just it happened, but it like the chances of it happening again is just chance and stuff like that of it happening. So he ended up killing all three of them, but it didn't stop him from being like, you know, wide awake and kind of still dealing with it. Even all his training didn't stop him from still kind of not being 100% okay with the fact that he's killed someone. Like, and I thought it was kind of interesting how they did that, because that scene came up after, you know, Marcus had already killed, you know, Rory, got back the picture of him and his dad that Rory had taken from him. Probably like the only picture he had. The reason why it was so important, probably the only picture he has left of his dad. Might not even have anything of his mom or not, because the picture only showed him and his dad, I believe. So, I mean, I guess that whole circumstances, like his life, you kind of understand why it seems like Marcus has a very pessimistic view on life, just kind of being like, because it's like, the school is meant to teach you for, you know, to face tragedies, but he's like, how am I, not necessarily, it's not going to make it so that you could stop tragedies, because they're always going to happen, but at the very least, it can prepare you to figure out how you're going to handle them when they do eventually happen. Because for him, it's like, shit just happens in life. How do you prepare for that, you know? So the show seems like it has a bit of a sick, twisted sense of humor in certain regards, because like I said, that whole like Will and Marcus scene about comic books, but also Billy himself, for one, like messing with Victor's drink so that he'd be in that position, and the teacher being like sit down and making him sit there, and then it's like, okay, and you're going to mop up whatever comes out to Billy, so that kind of sucks. But also Billy's in like the dude's like breaks his arm and stuff like that, and I don't know, Billy seems like a little off. But to be fair, he's at a school where it seems like everyone's a little off, because it turns out, oh yeah, Maria in that whole Chico situation, she kind of did all that flirting with him and stuff like that because she wanted to put him in a position, because she heard his reputation, like, oh, this is a badass, this is the guy I'm going to get to kill Chico, because I hate Chico, he's not a good guy, she doesn't want to be with him anymore. So she put Marcus in that situation. Like the moment like she had the makeup on and walked away and was smiling, I was like, yep, she set you up. I was like, that's kind of shame. So I was actually surprised by that, because I was like, did she set you up to get killed? Is that what that was? It's like, no, she was just, she wanted you to kind of go all white knight and protect her. But obviously she doesn't know what Saya knows about that not being who you are. Like, this is the first time you've ever killed anyone. So like, that's going to be interesting too, because that dynamic means like everyone's going to look at him as like, oh, you're such a badass. And people are just going to, you know, they assume a lot, because even she said like half this class is kind of scared of you. And, you know, the other half wants to know whether it's true about you. So there might be people other than Chico who step to him because they think like, oh, are you really the badass that you claim to be? And it's like, he might have to kind of step his game up to be who they think he is, you know? So we'll see in the long run when it ends up happening, especially with that whole Chico situation. I thought it was kind of interesting how Marcus like called him out, because for Marcus, it's like, I have nothing to live for. The fact of the matter is, I have nothing to lose, but you have the chance of losing everything, because it's like you're up here trying to play the hardcore guy, you know, but you know, for him, it's just like you're in that position because it's like, you know, it's kind of interesting because like I said, what caught me by surprise is that there is a totem pole to this whole situation. That there's at the very bottom are rats, people who have no legacies. Other kids who are with these different cliques have a legacy, you know, whether it be like Chico and Maria, like I'm sure, you know, there's the cartel thing, and, you know, Syfy, you know, the Yakuza, and Brandy, which I completely forgot about that, kind of feeding into the whole like dark, twisted sense of humor. It's like, you know, Will is talking about he wants to hook up with Miss DeLuca, and it's just kind of talking about, you know, Brandy. And then, you know, Marcus is like, Brandy's your girlfriend? And Will's like, hell no, what the hell are you talking about? She's a Nazis. Like, Nazis are not girlfriend material. He's like, yeah, I mean, we bang a couple times, but that's about it. It's like, that in itself is very interesting, because it's like, so that must be like a very well-kept secret that Brandy keeps. Not unless that was him just trying to act hard, and that was a complete and utter lie. Maybe there was actual truth to that. We'll kind of have to wait and see. But like, obviously there's kind of like the losers of the school, that being Marcus, Billy, Petra, Lex, those who have no affiliation, the graveyard. It's just like a lot of stuff about this show. I'm immediately already liking how they go about things. It's kind of interesting because like, obviously, like, you know, President Reagan, about the whole, like, because he cut funding to mental health and all these people got free, that led to his parents dying and everything. So it's like, is that going to be kind of like his white whale situation, of like that's the person he's going to gun for? He said that, but I don't know whether that was just him trying to act all tough and stuff like that. To be fair, once again, it's like now at this point in time, we know he's never actually killed anyone, so that was just him kind of talking big. So he was going to walk away, but now he finds himself kind of here because no matter how messed up the school is, it is the closest thing to normal he could have, you know? A place with a roof over his head, not kind of having to be alone anymore, living on the streets like that. Like, it's kind of a dog-eat-dog world out there, which the school is no different, but at least I guess in King's Dominion, like, there is a place for you to find and make your own. So I guess that makes things a little different. I mean, I don't know if they didn't actually explain the time frame of how long it's been since he quote-unquote burned that place down. I mean, it must still be relatively fresh. I mean, because it looks like the scars because the scars on his body, they don't look fresh. They look like they've healed up. So it seems like it's been a while. And the police are still searching for him actively like that. So I don't know. It might not be that long of a time. Maybe they'll kind of tell us a little bit more in the future. But what I'm really curious about, though, is Master Lin. Like, what... Like, the fact of the matter is, he talked about the reasons why he's trying to do this. It's like he's trying to give power, you know, to those who are being suppressed to fight their oppressors and stuff like that. But, you know, to give, essentially, people an outlet, you know, in Marcus's case, an outlet for his rage and stuff like that. But part of me is like, what else is he getting out of this situation? Like, is it going to be, like, hired guns for himself in the future? Like, because we don't really know too much about, you know... What is the word I'm looking for? Alumni? I think that's the word I'm thinking of. There was that weird thing where it's like, oh yeah, there was Lee Harvey Oswald's rifle being held up in the school. It said class of 57. I was like, okay, so that's interesting. Like I said, I'm very interested in this show. You know, it like just like I said, the weird, like quirky characters. It's also interesting, too, because immediately from the beginning, we've already set up kind of a interesting potential, maybe love triangle situation, because it's like, there's a whole thing with Maria and Marcus, but you can tell Marcus is into Saya, but Saya's only potentially kind of paying him any attention or doing anything, like, pointed towards him simply because it's part of her mission. But if she ignores him, is that also part of her mission? Like, you know, what is her assignment exactly? You know, like I was bringing up earlier, what is it exactly? I am very interested to kind of dive into this world. Obviously, we'll be waiting a little while because, like I said, this series doesn't actually officially start until next month. So I'll probably end up rewatching this the moment the series actually does premiere, just so I can refresh my memory on this, because I will most likely forget by then because I have a terrible memory. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.